Good morning, everyone. My name is Aisha Dixon, and I'm the director of the Emerita Retirees Relation Center. It's been a long kind of morning. We are recording today's session, so I just want to thank you all for coming. We do have a tight partnership with the Emerita Association and the Retirees Association. They help coordinate this program today. Especially we have Judith from the Retirees Association, who I believe is the co-program chair and incoming president for the Retirees Association. So I will let her introduce today's speaker. Make sure you have your smartphones in case you have questions. We can kind of go through that. So Judith?
All right. Well, our smartphones are with us when we wake and before we go to sleep. So this 60-minute workshop will be a work session with Gigi Johnson, and it will make you smarter. Gigi Johnson, especially when it comes to using your smartphone. Gigi Johnson, 2019 Emerita from the Herb Alpert School, will share a workshop that she's been running with the LA County Libraries after her own bout with brain fog 5 years ago on how your phone can be a brain booster versus a distraction and tracker. You'll end the hour with 3 tips on how to rethink your phone for your daily life. This will be the first of a series of fun and practical working sessions to help you partner with your smartphone for a smarter life and no longer be ruled by technology. You'll master it yourself. Take it away, Gigi.
Excellent. Well, I'm not quite sure entirely mastering, but how to kind of move us along the journey here. So, I am going to be talking about how to partner with your smartphone for a smarter life. And I'm a big fan of bit.ly codes. So at the bottom there, and I will attempt to also put it in the chat box for your take-home pleasure, is what's a little flip book with all the slides. So if you think, oh my gosh, there's so much here, and I apologize, there is, you can... My typing is not my fastest skill, that you'll also have it as a leave behind. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm also a big fan of having a post-it note and a pen the old-fashioned way, or you can be using your phone to take notes, and we'll talk about that as we go. So I've been doing this program for about 5 years. And Judith and other folks and I were talking at the holiday party, I think it was, about the fact that wouldn't this be an interesting program to bring to this group? So I'm going to get us started. At any point in time, feel free to go into the chat and I'll keep an eyeball on that. But I'm going to take us briefly, though, into another tool. Hold on half a second. I'm going to screen share a different space. And... we go. Hopefully you'll see something that is a neat tool called Mentimeter. And at the top it says go to www.menti.com and use the code 58643939. So if you're on a Zoom call, which you can do, of course, on your smartphone, there's a way to actually have people give feedback and stuff that isn't just typing in the chat. So if you can try on your beautiful smartphone or on your beautiful computer to go to menti.com, and it'll ask you for a number and put that number in. And I will also put both of those in the chat. And this is my way of kind of finding out from you guys where we're starting from, especially with this not small amount of people. 58643939. And the first question is what brand of phone you have. Now, I used to ask the question, do you have an Android or an iPhone? And I found the people who had an iPhone knew they had an iPhone, but people who had Samsung or whatever had no idea that they had an Android phone. So this is to kind of get a feel for what our vocabulary is here. So first one up to deck is iPhone. So we've got at least one iPhone 11, that's being specific, excellent. An iPhone SE, we have an iPhone family here. Ooh, iPhone preponderant so far in the responses. Now, I am an Android girl myself, that I have a Samsung rebuilt phone. I'm a gigantic fan now of going with the rebuilt phones because instead of paying $800 for a very fancy smartphone, I can pay $200 for a very fancy smartphone. But it looks like so far we've got a fairly abundant iPhone family here. We'll let that roll for a minute. I have one Android response there.
Oh, wait, somebody has a Samsung 520 and an iPhone in the chat.
Oh, good. Okay, so we have a vocabulary of phones, and we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between the two. I'm going
But
to shift
nobody,
gears. Go ahead,
nobody
sorry.
has a Google Pixel, huh?
Not in who's written in so far. Huh? We've got 22 responses in Menti, and we've got about a half dozen in the chat space. I'm going to move to the next question, which then, what are your 3 favorite apps? And you can type them separately or together. You can, iterate. What are your 3 favorite apps? And feel free to also put it in the chat or in Menti. I'm gesturing to I have 2 screens here because I'm that girl. Your 3 favorite apps.
I don't know what my 3 favorite apps are.
The 3 ones you hate the least. The 3 that you use most often. Starbucks came up quickly. So you've got Chrome, Audible, LA Times, Facebook, Spotify, Starbucks, local news, Pandora, Audible. And this is a word cloud, so the stuff that comes up repeatedly is the one that is the bigger one. So Starbucks has some abundance there, and Facebook and Audible now.
Oh, I see WhatsApp in the chat. That's a good one too.
WhatsApp is a good one and depends on where you are geographically as well. Excellent. Weather has gained speed here. Now, weather is one of our biggest searches and biggest app uses is the weather, which is why the Weather Channel was bought by IBM. Is a great way to get our information and data. My chart, Safari, CNN, YouTube, photos. We got lots of great things coming up here. I'm going to cut to the 3rd question to get us kind of rolling faster here. What are your biggest frustrations? Now, this doesn't have to be with your phone. What are your biggest frustrations you are wrestling with that we will help your phone answer for you? How to become wealthy. Okay, maybe not on that. Maybe we could have that in there. What are your biggest frustrations? I don't have any frustrations. I am happy as a clam. Are clams happy? I've never quite figured that part out.
Neither have I.
Poor eyesight. Oh, good. Being organized, passwords, settings, text spamming. I hate text spamming. We'll talk about the whys on some of this. How to fix a problem with the phone. Phone does not work. Password settings. Backing up the phone. Spam settings. Anxiety about security. Those are very valid things. Spam calls. Absolutely. Technical problems. Syncing calendars. Backing it up. How to record a conversation. iCloud. We'll hit a bunch of these things.
Face recognition.
Positive or negative with face recognition?
Negative, because I never know when it's going to work.
Well, not only that, there's actually young people who are being roofied at bars, and then they're using face rec on their phone and clearing out their bank accounts.
Ooh.
Which I would never have thought about. I've actually suggested to my own young adult kids. Yeah, Google making changes your phone without approval, ringer going silent, all sorts of great stuff. So we're going to touch on some of these as well as ways that you can think of some of these. And I'm going to switch back to the slide conversation. Actually, I'm going to switch back to the slideshow. Okay. So you guys have a lot of the same issues that a lot of people have with these programs and with these tools. And I'm going to take us through some methodologies and ways to think about our phone. But I'm going to start out with 2 a.m. a couple days ago. And I don't know how many of you, if you can put in the chat, if you felt the 2 a.m. earthquake, which was based in Santa Monica. I'm out near Pasadena, still felt it, woke up going, what the heck?
There were two actually.
There was actually a whole bunch. There was one at 2 and 2:03, and then a whole series of aftershocks came in. So this isn't me. I don't look anywhere near this good when I sleep. But I was thinking when I was trying to go back to sleep that it used to be that when there was an earthquake, I've been living in Southern California since 77. I guess that's a big chunk of my life. That I would wake up initially and I would go turn the radio on, right? That I could turn the radio on and I would listen to KNX or KFWB and I'd listen to the newscaster who would be saying, oh my gosh, we've just had an earthquake. And I would feel, oh, good, I don't need to wake my husband up and make sure that's what happened. And then that it wasn't just me thinking it was something, or going and fighting my kids, crawling out of their cribs in the bed during the Northridge quake. And then that I would then wait until they had heard from U.S. Geological Survey that here's what it was and here's what was going on. And so to me, there's almost this ritual of radio being part of my life and getting instant information. And meanwhile, though, at 2 a.m. the other day, I immediately went to Google on my cell phone, which immediately told me that there was a 4.2 quake and gave me information. But actually, I didn't even do this. I actually cheated more because I go right to the U.S. Geological Survey site on my phone and go into the reporting in. I felt this earthquake. And I didn't even think about, do I have my phone set up for emergencies like this? I think about it a bit because was packed for 10 days during the Bobcat fire, trying to figure out, do I leave my house? And I had things pinging on my phone all the time for emergencies to see and watch where the fire was. And there's tools that you could use for your phone. So there's MyShake, which you may want to put on your phone. MyShake is out of UC Berkeley. And it did, for this earthquake, give a warning ahead that we were about to have a Templar. And so it does connect with your phone, and it actually connects phones all over the United States, but especially in the Western US, to sense motion in everyone's phones at the same time. So is this a tool you'd like to have in your life? Or do you want to be able to get to the radio from your phone so that you can get to KFWB via KCAL News on your cell phone? Is this the first thing you want to pick up other than maybe your glasses and your slippers when you have an earthquake? And of course, in this day and age, people went to Twitter. So I actually thought of this. I went to Twitter and all these people were going, it's an earthquake in Twitter, and then started cracking Twitter jokes. This was a parenting Twitter joke about rumbling starts, oh crap, shaking starts, should I get the kids? It's over, and we go back to sleep as LA parents. So it became social commentary and conversation. And of course, I messaged my adult kids, two of which don't live in SoCal anymore, to say, hey, we had an earthquake. And I didn't even think of asking my Echo Dot, which I could have. I have one within reach in my bedroom, and I could have said, I'm going to say this and she's going to respond, Alexa, did we just have an earthquake? And then she would probably tell me she doesn't understand me. So there's lots of ways to approach your device. And she doesn't like women's voices as much as men's, from training data, whole other story. So how do we engage, and how is this part of our lives? And for me, this became a really big story for me. I had major, somewhat emergency surgery and had anesthesia that gave me brain fog. And this is about 5 years ago. I was still really active professionally. I was needing to go to conferences and things. And I was at a loss. I, in fact, kept leaving this behind. And I got in this habit of living my entire life in a belt pack that I would leave next to me and I would be wearing all the time, that would have my ID, my keys, my phone, because my memory had become totally unraveled. And I went back to my phone to say, how do I have this thing helped me figure out how to have a better memory, better ways to think. And so I began to rethink about all the digital junk on my phone and how to tune this for me, and then how to teach other people some of the things I discovered. So challenges, opportunities, expense. I kind of broke it down into a lot of small pieces, which I'll share. And feel free also, if there's things that resonate for you or you have questions about, to add them to the chat. But this in many ways is customizable for you. And increasingly, this has business models that are trying to get you to be addicted, come back, spend your time, and spend your money. So I'm going to show tricks and tools. So hopefully you'll walk away with at least 3 things that you could do differently. And it'll be a different 3 things for different people. So I tend to think of this as the mini golf edition. This is Smart Smartphone 101. We're not going to go into deep dives into things, and I'm glad to do future sessions if these things resonate. And you can also go and have the slides and take a look at them later as things fly by, and we'll do some pit stops along the way. So I'm going to start with some numbers. I'm a recovering MBA lecturer professor also at Anderson, so I have a hard time not getting away with that. So 97% of people in the United States 50 and over have a cell phone, according to Pew Research. And this has gotten to be a pretty decent penetration. My mother-in-law is 87 and does not have a cell phone. And being able to do, and she doesn't have a computer either. And we get calls from her on anything from helping with filing her low-income waivers for her utilities, to dealing with the US government and the county government. This has gotten to be the doorway, as well as with your phone or your computer or tablet, of engaging. It's no longer well, most of us don't have phones, or not all of us have some kind of a device. So I'm gonna fly through numbers, and I'll leave them in the slides, but just to show the magnitude of the craziness that is behind these phones. New app downloads in the world, 255 billion last year. Almost 500,000 apps downloaded per minute last year. App Store spends $167 billion and 5 hours on average on the phone. A third of waking hours are on the phone. That we kind of went through the fact this group is largely iPhone. That is correlated a bit with the iPhone spend. So there's really 2 main formats now in the world, though there's a Chinese version that is not Google Android, that is Android. But most of the spend is in gaming. I will not be talking about gaming today, but gaming is where a big chunk of this activity is going. And you may do casual games, you may play with all sorts of things on your phone, but the economics of what's fueling this thing is largely
anything you ask. Avail you of all knowledge.
And she's talking to me, is gaming and things. But if you take a look at the volume of what's been happening with it, most of the volume is, and I actually I'll come back to the 30%. Most of the volume of downloads are on Google. That Android really is the big volume globally of apps outside the United States. But still, it's a very large amount of gaming, though a lot of the money is being made in gaming, and we get the apps otherwise. Now, I had a 30% I was showing there. iOS is Apple, Google Play is Google and Android. Both of them take 30% App Store money for what we buy in-app, outside app. So these things are gigantic fuel of these stores, is the fuel under the hood. And the behavior is different, and I'll get off the numbers in a bit, but the behavior is different. And one of the comments was, how do your grandkids teach you how to use this stuff? For folks under 24, it's Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. For folks over 45, it's Walmart, Weather Channel, Waze, Amazon Alexa, and Ring Home Security. So even what we do really differs by who we are. And TikTok has become a gigantic force. I won't be talking about TikTok. Glad to talk about TikTok afterwards, but it's totally swamped out downloads. It's been downloaded 3.5 billion times so far. And if you use TikTok, put it in the chat. It'd be very interesting when talking about how people use TikTok nowadays. One of the key things that is a behavior question is the number 49%. We're almost done with the numbers, I promise. But 49% of apps were uninstalled within 30 days of being installed.
Wow.
And then 49% of those were erased within 24 hours. So there's this big gold rush to get on your phone, to get your data and your attention, and then to keep you from erasing the darn thing. And there's apps that are massive that you may never heard of. TikTok, we just talked about. Temu is a new shopping app that had 12 million downloads in the US last year. CapCut's a video editing app. We could go down the rabbit hole on new apps, but these are still gigantic businesses. So that's the end of the numbers. I promise, I promise, I promise. But this is gigantic business that's trying to get to you via your phone. So I'm going to kind of talk instead about how we can understand from that top part of the iceberg where we can see, okay, here's the name of it and here's what happens. And we can go how we can see clearly what that is, look under the water to see how it works. And then I want you to think about, we'll come back at the end, how to tune it to be with you, swap it for something better, connect it to things you love, or just ditch the darn thing. So we're going to look at how to diagnose crap you've put on your phone and also how to think about options, alternatives, and ways to tune it to be like you. How do apps make money? Almost nothing is really free. Can you guys put in the chat how you think apps make money? Ads, 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 advertising, advertising, advertising. Dreaded clicking advertisements. So advertising is largely about 55%. Ooh, I said no more numbers. About 55% of how apps make money. Selling your data is part of this whole thing. And then selling you stuff, be it buying the app, in-app purchases, getting you to buy a whole series of things is a large portion of the rest of it. So you've got subscriptions or purchases, you've got in-app purchases, you've got data and behavior sales. And in some cases, it's, I don't make money off of selling to you, but I sell that lead to somebody else who's going to sell you a car, a large ticket item, a series of books, and they pay that person to get to you, manipulating you. Absolutely. And then affiliate sales, which we'll come back to, that you click on something you think is a review and it has a really long link you can't see on your phone very well. You can see it better on your computer, but that link underneath has all this code in it to basically give credit to the people who then are passing you along, and they will get 10, 20, 30% of that sale back for handing you over. So affiliate sales, sadly, penetrate almost all the review sites and most of the major areas you would go to for information. Because we don't click on ads anymore, the affiliate money is how much of the phone makes money, and most of the websites you go to make money. So the good part is you can extend your abilities, you can connect with other people, you can have a window to other places, you have information at your fingertips, you can extend your memory, which we'll hit in a second. But the problems are you've got costs, you've got problems with service, equipment, it tracks you, it limits your choices by what it shows on the front screen, and it's always trying to sell you ideas and products. So as a friend, as an external brain, it's a good thing, and also it's designed to keep your attention, make sure you don't delete the app, and to get you to spend as much time as humanly possible in the tool and in the app. And there's almost nothing that is the equivalent of a good the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, really in many ways is not quite on board with what it should be doing to keep us from dealing with influencers and affiliate links and dealing with bad actors in this space, with tools changing the rules after you've already signed up, with them tracking your location and data. You need to be your own FTC, you need to be your own smart person, and or with your family, or having them help you with it. Because whether it's trying to get you to click on things, whether it's getting you to try to buy things, that a lot of the services here are not necessarily good actors, especially if you're in the Android store versus the Apple store, that they don't screen as much. Given that negative diatribe on the phone, my core model is this is my friend. And I use it for really three things. Or I use it to be my notes, storage, recall, reminders, and calendar. This is my brain. This is where I put everything that I now need to know, and to try to keep it clean and clear, so that I can figure out what I need to do next, especially with my history of brain fog. But I use it as a powerful filter of all of the things that are trying to come in. I use it for very thoughtful search and storage of how I do that. And then I use it to connect with friends, family, and communities that I'm interested in. And then on the way out, I'm using it to communicate. I'm using it to create video. I'm using it to build content for teaching programs I still run. But I have to think about, I've got this thing that has so much content now in it. How do I want to organize it to think the way I think, and not let it become a log jam of other things trying to get my attention? So it's a constant filtering. Do you have other needs for your phone? Put them in the chat of things that you would love your phone to do with and for you. How is the phone your friend? Memories. Oh, I love that. I'm not sure I want it telling me what I was doing 5 years ago today, but music and learning, absolutely. Oh, tracking physical activity. Photos and connections, those are good. Instant contact with friends. Shopping lists. Navigating. I've become a Waze girl. I was a Google Maps girl for a long time, but I drive by myself a lot, and Waze is owned by Google, but it tells me without me having to look at my phone what's coming up, what's on the side of the road, what's changed ahead of me, and then I can change voices. Mrs. Santa Claus was talking to me for the holidays. So all of this is adjustable to you. Might make your kids and significant other frustrated with your phone choices, but so I'm going to hit some basics, because not everybody is smooth, suave, and debonair with their phone. So I'm going to hit some concrete elements of things to, if you haven't really thought about them, to think about them. The first one is that every app and tool from your phone starts with a default setting. Can you share in the chat how often you change the defaults on your app or your phone? Okay, we have a spectrum here, though. We have some people who don't change their defaults. So the default can be as simple as, I don't want this notifying me, or I'd like to only notify me of what's the default. Excellent. So the default is that there's assumptions under the hood of most tools that you get. Now, it might be that it can notify you and be on your notification screen. It could be that it's going to track your location. It could be that it saves to a certain place, or it's connected to a certain cloud drive, that it's going to be looking at your favorites, that's going to be reporting your data back to the provider. And every tool has a different way that you would look at the defaults. And I'm pretty sure it's something similar, and feel free to correct me, my iPhone friends here, that you have a sprocket that is generally the code for settings. And you have something called the hamburger, which is usually 3 lines. Why that's a hamburger, I have no idea, other than I guess it looks like a hamburger with nothing green or tomatoey on it. That if you click those, it's more settings or more information. So happily or sadly, for each app, it's actually different in what's in there and what you can change. And it could be as simple as changing the color scheme or the size of the font. It could be changing it so that it only will nag at you once a month, or that it does or doesn't connect to other things on your phone. So we're going to hit some of those a little later on the defaults that are possible. But one of my biggest suggestions is you start out with anything you put on your phone and look under the hood to say, what are the assumptions of what it does with my data? Can I download my data when I'm done? Do I need to clean it out fairly often? What are kind of the objectives there? How does it work? What is the default settings? And it's the same thing on your PC, that if you go to a website, they often have it. That stuff is in settings, and a lot of people don't go there to change it. And sometimes it's also both in the settings on the phone itself, as well as the settings on the app. And those are 2 different ways to go at it. The second big suggestion is to own your nudges, own the notifications. That most apps want to have you say yes up front to being notified. In fact, you'll find a newer app will show up with more notifications often than you've had for a while. I'm at the point myself, and you can change this usually on the phone itself, or you can go into the settings and go to all of your apps and turn off notifications. And you can decide whether it's an audio notification, whether it vibrates, or it shows up on your home screen or your pre-login screen, depending on how you have your phone set up and what the style is. That you should have it nudge you for what you need, not you have to respond to it. Now, it could be basic things. I have my calendar set so that it buzzes me lightly 10 minutes before an appointment on my calendar. And that's a combination of setting my calendar to have a 10-minute reminder and my phone knowing that's when I want to accept, so that I always have this lovely little buzz 10 minutes before a meeting to remind me, oh crap, where am I supposed to be in 10 minutes? I have it set so I get nudges if my own adult children reach out, but I really don't want to know when I'm getting some kind of a message from telling me that I have a delivery from Amazon. So in each of those, my biggest suggestion is turn them all off and turn them ones back on that you want, and kind of layer them in over time and decide, what do I need a reminder of? Do I need a reminder that I haven't had water today? Do I need a reminder that I needed to pay a bill? Do I need a reminder to call a friend a week? What is it you want to set as the reminder for yourself? And set those, and don't let the nudges and all of these tools, they don't want you to erase them. They want you to come back and spend time with them, that you want to not give them that satisfaction. The third key item under the hood is that these things do nothing unless they're connected to either your phone service or Wi-Fi. And you may think, oh my goodness gracious, I don't want to use up, most of us don't have limited amount of data plan anymore, though some do, and we'll come back to that in a second. I'm in McDonald's. I'm going to use their Wi-Fi and sign into their Wi-Fi. 2 things happen. One is that when you have Wi-Fi, and it's that lovely little graphic that's in the picture there, that if you have Wi-Fi on your phone, it is using your battery to ping, 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 and be looking for and connecting to Wi-Fi. So if you find your battery dies quickly, it might be that your phone is set to go ping, ping, ping all the time. But the second thing is that Wi-Fi in a public place is not secure. So even though Starbucks, McDonald's, your public library, a lot of airports now, malls have free Wi-Fi for you, so you think you're going to sit and enjoy video while you're sitting there, then there are trackers and other things that can track your Wi-Fi. Do not do financial transactions in that environment. Do anything that has passwords attached if you can. And there's ways around that we can have in a following conversation, but don't think, oh, great, there's free Wi-Fi. I can just use it without potential negative repercussions. And you may want to have, you can use it for phone calls when you're on Wi-Fi. All that is good, but to realize that you probably want to stay in friends' homes that have security provisions on their Wi-Fi if you're going to use that instead of using your minutes and time and data plan on your phone. And then there's being intentional about the where of your stuff. So most of us have, if you have an iPhone, it's going up into the Apple Cloud system and iCloud. If you have a Google phone, it's going into Google Drive, but you can push it into other places that you can set up your phone for automatic backup, so you're not going to sit and fill your storage here. Then you can get it to it from multiple devices, share it with friends and family, or people that might be part of an association or nonprofit you work with. That's all a setting item on your phone. The challenge there, back to the always be suspicious on how people make money, is most of these are what's called a freemium model. It's free until it isn't. And so that it might be that you get it, you go, oh, great, I can have all my photos get uploaded. And then Dropbox goes, oh, if it's over several gigabytes, we're going to charge you $99 a year, or I think it's $120 a year. And you suddenly go, but wait, you have my stuff. So it's always important to know, can I get my stuff out and put it somewhere else? But to think about, where do I want, and how much will it cost? Google charges you after a certain amount. iCloud charges you after a certain amount. They want you to get in the habit of just saving everything. And then you have, my mom used to call it Fibber McGee's closet. You have a gigantic closet filled with stuff, and now you're getting charged to have all that stuff. It's like having a public storage space for your phone. What do you want to do with it, and how do you organize it? And do you clean your digital closet? Otherwise, you start spending lots of money. Does any of this resonate for you guys? Can you put in the chat, wait, I love the cloud, I hate the cloud, here's problems I've had with the cloud. Are you using the cloud, which really are servers that are sitting someplace else with Google and Apple and Dropbox and Box and UCLA, if you're still doing UCLA stuff, is a Box shop as well as a Google Drive shop. Your cloud is always full. That sounds good, other than when it's raining, other than you keep having to pay for it. Refuse to use. There's been lots of issues with cloud stuff. Twitter, when it was being formed, somebody figured out the password for their Google Drive account and was taking their private information out into the world. Yeah, I can go through how to clean up cloud stuff. I'll talk about toward the end though, Claire. Because some of it is having to sit down and say what's important to me, and to sit down, maybe it's tax time, maybe it's when you're recovering from New Year's, or when you're changing the batteries on your smoke detector in your home, which you should do a couple times a year, to sit down and say, what is my stuff? The average email is sitting in 5 places, right? So it's who sent it, who took it, and everywhere they CC'd it and saved it. Photos are a lot of the same way. And I keep thinking that my husband's grandmother had taken all of the photos that she had and wrote on the back who was there and who they are and what the relationships were. Bless her, she's no longer with us, but it's so wonderful to know who people are. And meanwhile, with all these digital photos we're taking, we're doing almost none of that. So our relatives and other people are going to go, what the heck, we have this big pile of stuff. So we'll come back to that feature. And iCloud is through your Apple ID, and there's lots of storage options, absolutely. There's ways you can cut costs with your phone. So I mentioned already that I have a rebuilt phone. I tend to not get major brand name phones, and there's so many different options for phones. This is a Samsung Galaxy 10 Plus that is only a couple of years old, but I got a rebuilt phone for $200 that has a phenomenal camera, etc. And so um, you have a replacement cycle on the phone on your phone, so you have to always think about how long will the company service it, how long can it be upgraded. It's not like buying an old stereo system where the stereo is going to work for the next 20, 30 years. That I know that I have an iPad 6. I've had iPad 1 and iPad 2, and they're no longer serviced, and the batteries slowed the whole thing down. Can I take the battery out? There's a really big question about how much money are you spending on a per year basis for your phone for one that is going to be getting dumber over time as requirements for tools go up. So there's ways to really look for a cheaper phone. There's also ways to have cheaper service. I adore my mother-in-law, but I keep having to remind her, and now that she's on really limited income, that she should contact anyone she's doing service with and kick the tires at least once a year and ask for a better deal. If you don't already do that if you still have a landline phone, cable, satellite, and your cell phone, and check at least once a year there's not a better deal, you're probably leaving money on the table. And I'll come to phone deals in a second. And then you're spending money on the app. So this thing is not free, cheap, or anything like that. And you're paying in 3 different ways. So you might think, I'm going to go look online for deals for seniors on smartphones. And I can look for that on my phone. I can look for that on my computer. And I'm going to raise a gigantic flag here, which is that much of the web and our phones are being paid for now by people who have rating and review sites, best of lists. And if you click those blue boxes on the screen, that those will be affiliate links that then carry forward into you getting maybe not the best service or the best actual reviews. And it's really frustrating. You're looking for a fridge, you're looking for anything, that affiliate links have taken over the web. If you want to do a search and take a look for smartphone affiliate links, you'll see all the deals that people are taking advantage of to then build their websites to push things to you. So I want you to put your cynic hat on, and on any of these think, okay, these are 5 they're recommending. They're getting a kickback for them all. How do I look under the hood? How do I look for more information? How do I look at, maybe it's consumer reports? How do I look for a more objective or responsible party? And maybe I need to do more of my own homework and not assume that this list of 5 is the best one. So I'm a fan of a few, but to realize they're called MVNOs, they're virtual networks that sit on the back of Verizon and T-Mobile and provide specialized service. That's what all these are. They sit on T-Mobile or Verizon, but there are plans, and no one's going to go, hey, you're over 55, you can get a cheaper rate. You do need to check back, compare your plans, and see what's going on. So I've been a T-Mobile girl for, 15 years or so. They have a Magenta plans, Magenta 55 plus. The racket there is you have to have 2 people to make the deal make sense. But you can end up, paying $70 for all you can eat, internet and phone and everything through your phone for 2 people. AT&T has a Senior Nation plan. AARP has a deal with Consumer Cellular and AT&T Wireless. Best Buy has Lively from Best Buy Health, and Ryan Reynolds Mint Company has a 55 plus plan that's $45 for 3 months for all you can eat phone. So it is worth shopping. I'm a gigantic fan. Shop regularly, shop often, kick the tires, talk to your friends, but to realize there's a whole racket that's affiliate plans. Visible has plans too, absolutely. Any other plans or things you guys have found that are great deals or crummy deals? There's also family plans, and especially if you have somebody who let you on their family plan, you can do, well, Stuart uses Verizon. And it's worth kicking the tires, even if you're on a plan you love, to go back at least once a year and say, hey, do I have the best deal? And to do that on all your utilities, maybe not the gas company. I don't know what they would do for you, but and especially with Spectrum, you got to go back with those guys and ask if you've got the best deal each year. So I'm going to do a bit of a sprint, pun intended, through a bunch of other things to look at and think about. And one is, we talked about eyesight, is that you can tune your phone for all sorts of things that make it easier for you. My first one, and Lily asked if there's a need for a regular phone and a cell phone. I don't know. We get all junk calls on our main line, that or occasionally our physicians calling, but other than that, we get so many calls. And if you get the calls that are in Mandarin, it's a whole racket to try to get money out of you for family members back in China. There's just stuff going on. I know that the police departments get those calls, and they immediately know if it's coming in Mandarin that somebody's got some racket going on, which is kind of frustrating. So if you haven't changed the font on your phone and apps, that is my number 2 thing, other than making sure that you're getting the right deals, that I suggest you do. Nearly every app and on your main phone, you can make the font bigger. It is a tremendous benefit. I've done that on all my apps, all my reading apps. I've turned the font up to the biggest sizes. It means you have less on your screen at one time, but it is a tremendous benefit. There's also, for a lot of apps as well as your phone, ways to change the color schemes to be easier, turn down the color, open up the contrast, or the opposite, make a page you're reading sepia tone instead of white, which relaxes the eyes. And I really recommend you kick the tires on everything that's on your phone to say, how do I make this visually better? We mentioned notifications. Thing 3 is put on a screen protector. It's about $100 to get your screen repaired. And there's lovely plastic things and glass things you can put on your screen, your phone, to protect your screen. I mentioned the phone lock of the face and the guys getting roofied, which is a bit of a problem with all this. You know, my phone, I have a thumbprint that goes there, and I actually don't like that, because if I want to hand my phone to my husband, who's in my passenger seat, I need to then re-put my thumb back on to open it up if he lets time go so far. So I'm still a big fan of using patterns or digits, but please, please, please have your phone lock on. My husband's great aunt has her phone everywhere, and this is in many ways, you know, your identification, maybe your credit cards are in here. You know, make sure that you've got it. So it might seem like a hassle to put a password in every time it's maybe had 30 seconds go by and you're not using it, or 3 minutes, and you can set that. I've had my phone stolen when I'm checking in at a hotel in Arizona, and I took my phone and I put it in the bag right at my feet, and the security video footage we looked at later, someone just came in, slid their hand down, picked my phone up. So you may think it's never away from me. You really want to make sure that you've got 2 things going on. One, you've got a password. And second thing is that if it disappears, there's nothing on here that you can't do without, right? Or the hard drive crashes or something happens. So, but do lock the darn thing. Battery management. I mentioned turning off the Wi-Fi when you're not needing the Wi-Fi, looking for the Wi-Fi. There's lots of things you can turn off for battery management. One is Bluetooth if you're not using Bluetooth. But a lot of phones just sort of suck battery. The more video, audio, all sucks battery. If I'm doing something important, or even out in my car, I have a external battery backup. If the power goes out, a lot of us are in Southern California, during an earthquake, you would like your phone to keep working, at least as long as the cell towers are going to be working. And if you're thinking, oh, wow, but I hadn't charged my phone, you really want a backup solution. And then to think about what accounts you really want to have and what email addresses you want to have attached to it. My husband years ago had someone hack his main email account. And you think, well, that's bad. No, it's bad because then someone can go to all the different websites and put in, I need to password recovery. And they were able to then get into all these other apps and other things because he mostly was using the same email address. They didn't need to know the password for that website. They just did password recovery and had gotten to into his email account. I know I'm not sounding very cheery, am I? There's things to worry about, and the fact that we have 13-year-olds walking around with these things sometimes I get quite alarmed by. But the display size thing, gigantic improvement on your life. And it can be, this is the display size, opening that up so you can have it be really large on your phone. And you can also change the font size, which also then changes the relative size of the font. And for this example, it's just a drag factor within the tool or the app or the phone itself to make it from a small font to a large font. This into itself can make your phone a much better friend. Mentioned recovery email passwords. You don't want the same password for everything. You really do, even though it's a pain in the rear end, want to have a two-factor authentication, what it's called, when it's going to text you, when you go to log in to your bank account or important things, that it's going to confirm. It makes it more important that you have your phone password protected because this is the lock and key nowadays for more and more systems. And in fact, if you don't have, in texting, how do you increase the font size? You want to go in and increase the font size on the phone settings themselves, as well as there might be a setting also for, depending on what text tool you use, because some people use Facebook Messenger and other things for text communications, and for almost all those you can shift on the settings. I'm a gigantic fan of having your password doesn't have to be, it can be a sentence with capitals and exclamation points. It doesn't have to be thinking of, what's not my children's names, what's not my home address, what's not, my oldest daughter's family has a long sentence that has weird punctuation in it. That is what they use for important things. And so the family knows the sentence, and it makes it so that you don't want to share that your password with lots of people, but you may want your spouse to be able to get into your financial information. Voice. I am if you are under 25, you do not listen to voicemails. They will ring you, and if you don't answer, you will not have a voice message. But then you get the obligation from other people if I left you a voicemail. And so you can think about, how do I want my voicemails to be interacting with my phone? I use Google Voice, which is a service of Google that I have a separate number that is called, and then I get a text message of what the call was, so that I don't give someone my actual cell number and I can read my voicemail. There's other services like this. Voicemail is getting less and less a thing for people. But I would be very careful who you give your number to. And Aisha, thanks for adding it. For different phones, it's different things, but generally it's an accessibility setting. iPhone transcribes voice messages, Lori, thank you. That's great. But everyone you give your phone number to, including companies and websites, they then can share them with other people, and then you find that your phone number starts getting messages and spam and other things. And a lot of it is that it costs almost nothing for all these spam and phishing calls to try to get your information. And so they will only increase. And your cell phone service probably has a probable spam type notification. And it's now to the point on my phone, I have an outbound message that says, unless we have an appointment or I recognize your number, please leave a message. I won't be answering the phone. And I don't have any great suggestions. If you do, please and Shahid says, do you recommend updating your phone with each iOS. I recommend updating your phone not that day. With a lot of the new operating system updates, be it Android or be it iOS, there's bugs in the system for the first few days, and I'm a big fan of letting other people enjoy the bugs. So I'm going to close this out with a smattering of things to think about. And that is, you may not know of tools in this sector that may change the way you interact with things, and I'll fly by them a little bit. And the slides are available, both I've got a QR code at the end and I'll put back in the chat. But there's things to think about that aren't just, for this example up on the slides, I don't have to just use Zoom. I can't stand Zoom. That there's lots of tools. If you and the other person are in the Apple environment, you can FaceTime each other. There's Google Hangouts. I'm a big fan of Whereby, which is this cute little app out of Norway, where you can put images in the background and stuff. Microsoft Teams. But there's ways you can use this. I talk with my sister in Belgium on our mutual phones every Saturday morning using Whereby, and just catch up. I remember used to be, there's a Dee is saying that's what they use their landline for, is to give unimportant numbers. You can also get a junk phone number. That is another long conversation. So this can be a visual connection with people. Email, I'm a gigantic fan of having a second junk address similar to the junk phone number, so that you have a junk email to give out that then doesn't clog up the pipes. I also tend to use a Bluetooth keyboard so that I don't have to worry about how small it is to type on things. And you can get this is a $40 keyboard. I have a nice $30 one that is someplace in my house that I use instead of trying to type on my little phone, to make sure that I'm not just having autocomplete hijack all my conversations. Texting, similar to the phone question, spam is increasing gigantically. You have many, many options. GroupMe is one that some people use to have just in family or friends, so that it's a loop of conversations. You may want to re-talk with your friends or family to say, what can we use that's a current tool? Though direct text messaging is always great. Search, wow. Search could be an entire, and maybe we'll make search an entire hour by itself. I mentioned the review sites already and the affiliate links. But you can have search be voice controlled and talk to your phone. You can use special search engines like DuckDuckGo that don't track you. So lots of ways to do search better and to use search in more modern ways. But Google in the United States is about 80% of all search, and we tend to go down the Googleplex. And also, Google on your smartphone shows you different things than Google on your computer and gives you many fewer choices. The average person only uses 11 to 15 apps that are on their phone. We've mentioned the business models, and then you can go in and tune each of them. So you're not going to use the same 15 apps as other people. So there's lots of different choices, but most people, 2.9 billion people monthly globally and 226 million in the US use Facebook. Facebook's gotten junkier too, with your friends probably being duplicated and hacked. You only see 1% of the brand's posts that you have liked, and about 30% of your friends' posts, because that's how Facebook makes money. You are the product. It is all about targeting and targeted advertisement and people paying to be seen. Judith asked, what about airline apps? Should you uninstall after you've traveled? I don't think so. They'll keep sending you deals. And I'll hit some of the travel apps in a second. Photos, that's me with a Snapchat picture being a cat. That you can use all sorts of apps to play with your images. Canva is a fabulous app created out of a woman in Australia that's now a multi-billion-dollar company that lets you edit your stuff largely for free with tools and filters and things on your phone, on your computer, with friends. This is a gigantic area right now. So if you've been taking pictures but not tinkering with them, but don't download stuff from people you don't know and you don't know where it came from, this is a great way to get viruses on your stuff. So lots of photo tools. This could be a session all by itself. Memory, this is my memory. This is my brain. This is my calendar and alarms. This is where I color code my calendar so I know where I've been and what I've done. This is a bunch of apps on my phone and reminders for, as I call it, bills, pills, exercise, sleep, and watering my darn lawn. This is my memory. So I'm going to give some examples because we're over time already here. I take pictures of where I park my car. I turn around before I leave. I think this is at the Music Center or this is at Hollywood and Highland. And I will, before I leave my car, I turn around to face my car itself and I take pictures of it. So I then go back and go, oh yeah, I'm on P5. Simple thing, right? How do I take my phone and just make it be an addition to my memory? When I was having massive brain fog, I lost my car twice. And it was in a lot that I knew where the lot was, and I had to find some other way to find myself. Another way is to find a place to park all your memories. I use Evernote, which is a great tool that connects up to everything, and there's a free layer and an inexpensive paid layer that lets me handwrite notes, but there's so many of these, whether it's Notion, it's all sorts of tools that are trying to be a place to put your digital stuff that's on your phone, your computer, and you can share with other people. Big fan of Evernote. I'm also a big fan of stuff that connects to my phone. So this is a tile. This is a Chipolo. And these are two-way connectors that if I push on them, it rings my phone so I can find my phone. And if I have apps on my phone that if I tap that, it will buzz these tools and show me on a map where they are. I right now have them both, but when I travel, I will leave one in my car so that I can always know where my car is by looking on an app on my phone. With the whole luggage fiasco over the holidays, people were putting these, and there's Apple versions of these as well, in their luggage so they can track where in blue blazes their luggage was. So I'm a gigantic fan of things that add to my life and make it better, that connect to my phone. I can pay with my phone. You may not want to. I've got Ralph set up so that I scan my phone, it gets my coupons, and then it also pays my bill. Target does that now too. But there's all these other apps. So if I want to use this to not carry around my credit cards, I can pay for Starbucks or whatever with my phone. We're of an age, we're not fluid to this necessarily. I know that my adult kids use Venmo and Zelly all the time to be paying each other when they're done with a meal, shooting money back and forth. But there's lots of ways to do this. Emotional health, Calm is a monthly or annual subscription that I can do meditation. Headspace is really big now. And the Center for Humane Technology has looked at a wide range of what apps make us happy. Oddly, Google Calendar was on that list. But there's lots of tools that are meant for your mental and emotional health. Insight Timer, I adore. It's a really great tool that's got hundreds of meditation narratives, etc. Online shopping, we could and will talk for a while on online shopping at a later date. 56% of searches for stuff start on Amazon, not on Google. And people, it's one of the reasons Amazon has such massive share. Abandoned shopping carts, you would like to abandon shopping carts because the people will send you coupons. And there's all sorts of trends for both pickup and return at a live store, and then use your phone to price check in stores. So you can take pictures of the object, of the UPC code, and you can find where that is, or in this case, find the book in your public library when you're at a bookstore to connect what that is all together. I mentioned affiliate links. There's so many shopping sites, and a lot of them are retargeting and tracking you. So that could be a whole follow-on conversation. Lots of ways to find food to cook. My oldest daughter has Blue Apron and Home Chef and HelloFresh coming to her kitchen with everything all pre-sliced and pre-cooked. But I could get groceries delivered from Vaughn's, from wherever, which we all know a lot better after the pandemic, and not have to go in. Restaurants, you guys probably know better than some about all the different ways that you can get food delivered. Another great way to be connecting the dots on all this stuff. And speaking of travel, there's lots of ways to use apps for travel. That Kayak will help you find between all the airlines best deals. That Skip Lagged will help you connect up portions of flights and trips. So it might be that you want the first part of this connection and the second part of this connection. TripIt lets you track all the information for a trip and share them with your loved ones, and then tell you what the weather is going to be and change it, tell you if your flights change. So most of the airlines want you to have their app on their site. Kayak also tells you advice about whether the flight price is going to go up or down in the next 7 days and 30 days. So you can time when you buy your flight. We could have a whole session just on how to travel better. Events, you can use So Far Sounds to go to concerts, Atom to buy tickets, Gold Star for half price tickets, started by Jim McCarthy, who I think is a UCLA alum. Eventbrite to go to events, and Meetup to find people with similar interests. This could be an entire session about how to find kindred spirits with an app for your phone. And I guess the last one I'm going to hit hard and then come to a close on this, because there's so many rabbit holes to go down with this, is the fact that most of us know about Audible and Kindle as stuff for their phones. I'm an increasing fan of Scribd, where I pay, I think it's now $15 a month for all you can read and all you can listen to audiobooks and ebooks, but not everything. They have deals with some of the publishers, but not all. But I'll look at something on Kindle and go, oh, that's nice. That's $15. And then I'll go to Scribd and go, and it's on Scribd and I'm already paying for it. But most of you hopefully have found Libby. LA County, LA City Library Card gets you Libby, Overdrive, Hoopla, all sorts of tools, learning, LinkedIn Learning, all to go through your phone, put in your LA library card, city, county, and you have access to ebooks, downloads, magazines, all from your phone. Aisha asked if she can have the slides. I'll put the bit.ly back, and I'll also have a PDF go around, not just the flip book that you can look through. There are so many ways to use your phone for better purchasing, living, life. And for each of these, there's another tool. If you don't like that one, and you don't like its defaults, color scheme, font size, data policy, tracking, that you can go find something else that won't be spending the time to money to market to you, that's a better solution. So I'll leave you all these slides and things, but we're back to can you look under the hood, tune it to you, toss it if it's not what you want, or connect it to your life to find a better way.
I was just asking about the slides because a lot of these links and audiobooks I can put into like a email so people can kind of access whatever Hoopla is and Libby and all these other apps I've never even heard of, but it might be useful for people who are, avid readers, or Spotify, the Verizon stuff, so people can kind of know where to turn to, because it's a lot of great information.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be turning this into an ebook as a way to kind of click through and find this stuff, as well as I've got workshops on each of these separately. One of the things is you could run a business from your phone. What would be the tools that you would use and the links to those tools to run a business, or plan a trip, or help a loved one figure out where they want to go to college. There's all sorts of great apps that are out there and on your phone, and a lot of them don't market to you. So, yeah, absolutely. So the Bitly takes you to a flip book where you can see a lot of these things, and some of them you can click through. But yeah, I will also share a PDF of that as well. Questions as we wrap up here. What questions do we have, and what would you want to know more about if we're going to continue this conversation?
Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, this is great. Like if we can get a series going on about smartphones, because this is phenomenal. We could do something with music, something with social media, text, whatever topics. So let's see. What other questions do you have for Gigi?
I mean, I would love to hear how to record a conversation and listen to it.
Oh, I can tell you that. That's easy.
Okay.
Do you have an iPhone, Stuart?
Yes, I do.
So there is something called voice memos.
Voice memos.
Yeah. Oh, if you see that there. It's just basically, if I hit the voice memo, it starts recording me right now. You can see my little thing going, and then that's it.
That's in settings, voice memos and settings.
I think it's a separate app.
Oh.
It's a utility app, so I'm not quite sure where to find it. Maybe Gigi she's the expert.
Well, you probably, the best thing is usually just to go to the App Store and put it in, and it'll show up, and it'll tell you if it's already on your phone. That's my kind of, instead of poking around to see where it is. There's other tools for this too, though. So you can go into your keyboard has a little thing that has a microphone on it, and you can tap that instead of typing, and you can talk to your phone and it'll transcribe it. So you have then a transcription of the conversation. I talk to my phone all the dang time. And so a lot of it is to think about what I want at the end of the day for it. I'm a big fan of otter.ai, and it's got a free model where it will both record what it hears as well as at the very same time transcribe it, and then send you and whoever you are with the transcription and pull out key phrases that you might want to find and tell you where it was in the conversation.
That's auto.ai?
Otter.ai.
Otter.
Like the animal.
Yes, thank you.
Like the animal.
There's a question about new topics. That'll be great to do. As I mentioned, my biggest cloud is photos, because I take like 14 in a row and I say, I'll go back and delete the bad ones, and then I never do, or there's a finger in the photo. So, but what about cleaning your digital attic?
And it's a big issue, and we can have actually a whole session on that. That's a great idea as how to clear the clutter. I tend to think about it when I'm changing a volunteer position, or I'm wanting to give things to somebody else. Yeah, whole session. Because it's something you should do fairly often, because you can end up with sludge. And I do find the joy of it is relabeling the boxes, sort of saying, okay, my next adventure is going to be traveling to Italy, etc. And then how do I put new boxes in the attic for the things I want? And how do I look at my old notes and go, what the heck was I thinking? So
that would be a great next session. And also I see here photos. So maybe we need a session on photos, editing, decluttering, putting information on them, how you can turn that on. So you do have that when you're looking back. You want to see where that photo was taken. What the heck is it? So I think that would make a great session.
And I might suggest one on family.
Oh, that's a good one too.
That for a lot of people, friends and family are the biggest use of their phones, and how to negotiate between generations, how to make sure you are sharing photos you want to share, how you're thinking through some of that stuff, and how to airdrop.
Yeah, so that's something
that would be under the phone photos. Yeah,
I take photos of my mom and my daughter, and otherwise I'm sending her 15 photos via text message, and then that gets lost in all the other text messages. So there's something called AirDrop where it automatically puts it in their photo cloud or something. So I'm excited for all these topics. I'm learning a lot. So this is, and you know, my 7-year-old, she's got an iPad at school and a Chromebook, and she could zip through my phone, and it's ridiculous, but it's their new way of life. She's taking typing classes, and I told her I didn't take typing till I was in high school. So it's miraculous what the new generation is doing.
And yet they don't
These
know
are-
what's under the hood on these things. They don't know how to change the defaults half the
Yes.
time either.
I think also in one of the classes we do, maybe you could go over getting into the settings
Mhm.
and looking at those different settings. Because it was when once I changed the text size for me, the text or the font, that was a godsend originally.
And,
So
and including battery life. Oh my gosh, making just small changes to double the battery
Yes.
life ends up, it's like have a whole new device.
So I
Those
know
are
someone
all-
had asked about text size. I hope they got the chat where you go to settings, accessibility, and you could change your font size that way. So I see people jotting down notes. It's settings, accessibility, and then font size.
And you can do it in the apps too. So if you use Kindle or other things to do readers, that you can change it even further within those. And you can also change it whether it's dark or light. And so that you may want to play with some of that as well, that even further amplifies that.
Yeah, because you had mentioned something about there was a good setting. Was it sepia? Is that what you said? That was easier on the eyes?
So you're not having bright white behind bright black letters, and even changing the fonts, that you can have fonts that are the sans serif versus serif, which are the serif's little curly Q things, you know, the corner edges, that you can change the font size and just make it bigger with a rounded, and it's easier to read. Accessibility, playing with the accessibility in your phone is so important. So we have a note how to travel better. That's a great one. I love traveling with phone and eating out with the phone. Oh my goodness gracious. That can be a game changer, is eating out with your phone.
So I will say something that helped me along the way is there's so many apps where I'm swiping pages and pages of apps. So I started organizing them better as far as photography, social media, financial, work, travel, because it really does make it a lot easier to kind of categorize these things. I have my daughter's games, all the games she plays on my phone that suck up all my memory. Information and news for CNN or Wikipedia, food and coffee for Yelp and Starbucks. So that all that organization definitely has been a game changer for me.
And to potentially not have them on the front page. So there's a
Gigi,
lot of
this
also
is-
suggestions to move them to page 2 and 3 so that you're not so tempted to be app hopping, that you go to it when you actually need it. So
Gigi, this has been a fantastic session, and I really want to thank you for a wonderful session. And look at all these future sessions we have to look forward to, so the cell phone becomes a real tool rather than an irritant. Yes, thank you so much. I look forward to the next session, and the program committee will work on it. And I just want to tell everybody to save February the 16th, because there'll be a dialogue on the U.S. economy with Dan Mitchell and Ed Leamer of the UCLA Anderson Forecast. And we're working on a program February 23rd for an in-person tour of the Nethercutt Auto Museum, so you might save that date as well. And again, thank you, Gigi. I've learned so much today. My head is buzzing.
sorry about that. Don't mean to flood.
All right,
Lots
so
to
be on the
think and do.
lookout. I will send a follow-up email with a lot of these links once I get it from Gigi. And I'll send a recording of this on our YouTube channel. So if you have to go back and look up some of these apps, you will see it on our YouTube channel. So we had to get very digital these past few years of the pandemic, Twitter and YouTube. So my mind is bursting.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Gigi.
Thank you.